getting into the good stuff here. We're on 247. This sutra kind of echoes the second sutra. Second sutra, to remind you, Yoga Chitta Vritti Nirodha, says the restraint of the modifications of the mind stuff is yoga. So here we are, about 100 sutras later. And this one at 247 says, by lessening the natural tendency for restlessness and by meditating on the infinite, posture is mastered. By lessening the natural tendency for restlessness. What I like about that statement is that he says it's a natural tendency, right? When this was written many, many years ago, restlessness was a natural tendency. So we're not alone. This is not new. And by meditating on the infinite, posture is mastered. So what's the infinite? Well, I think that's the question. But the result is that posture is mastered. So what does that mean, posture? At a really gross level, it would mean if we meditate, we can get really good at asana postures. Depends on what good is. What is mastery of posture? When I first started doing yoga, actually I'll call it when I second started doing yoga. So when I first started, I was just clueless, like showing up because somebody said it was good for me. And then I got interested in it and I started to want to understand it and do it right. So I started doing all these postures the way I thought they were correct. And eventually I found my way into a pretty structured, challenging kind of yoga. And in my attempts to do the postures right, I often hurt myself. It's like, sure, I can sit like this and wrap my arms around myself and bind into a Marichyasana D or whatever the pose was. And that was a good teacher. And when I read this today, almost, I guess, 1998 to 24, almost 25 years into this practice, what does it mean to master a posture? By lessening the natural tendency for restlessness, and by meditating on the infinite, posture is mastered. What he's teaching us is that there's value in persistence, in discipline. And in a way, the journey of asana for me has been just sort of a complete parallel to the journey of all the adulting of my life, the relationships. So there's a struggle at the beginning, and then you want to figure it out. And you think if you do it a certain way, it's going to be something that you don't even know what you're trying for, but you're like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then it doesn't work, and there's a struggle of, well, why am I doing this? And then you soften and you just surrender to the practice. And my practice now is, I would describe it as pretty soft. It's a lot more about humility, not from a place of I've been broken, but from a place of, oh, less resistance is a lot more fun than resistance. It's a lot more peaceful, I guess is a better way to describe it. The other thing that I'll say about my own practice is that I've lately, because I've got this new career, I haven't been able to practice the way I used to in terms of frequency or intensity. And there's a struggle around that. But there's also a realization of the phases of our practice. And just because I can't do it now the way I used to, or now the way I might be able to in the future, it doesn't mean it's not good enough. What if our practice the mastery of our postures comes from being less restless? So when we sit to practice, which we'll do in a moment, I think if we're human, especially if we haven't mastered this, we get restless. It's like, I don't want it to be this way. I'm going to do something else. Or I'm going to create mental resistance to it, even if I stay. Right? Even if I sit here until 7:55, is there resistance, or is it just the practice? Invite us to just be in a practice. Create a posture. Close your eyes. Notice your seat, the physical seat and the seat of your practice. Get a sense of stillness, of a commitment to just being right here. Notice what is right here. Notice your physical body and your experience of your body. Allow everything that's here . small itch or sensation is an opportunity to just practice staying, to observe any discomfort and master the ability to be with it. Overcoming I want for I am. Distinguishing what is solid from what is infinite. softening if there's tension. Creating a sense of presence. Not shying away or getting sleepy, but just present with this moment. Softening into presence. Cultivating a sense of okayness with what is right here. one more time, kind of a clearing. And then you can open your eyes. So, in the story that Swami Satchidananda tells about the sutra, I've read this. I don't know how many times I've read these sutras, this translation. And I usually listen ahead because I do it on Audible, and then read it. And I remember listening to this just a few weeks ago. And I listened to it again this morning, and there's this story in this section about the king who takes a vow to welcome holy men as a incarnation of Shiva into his court. Any holy man is allowed in. And his enemy dresses himself as a holy man. And the guards realize this is his sworn enemy and say, we don't want to let this man in. We want to protect him. We need to protect the king. And the king says, no, let him in. And so the sworn enemy of the king sneaks his way in and kills him. And immediately on his death, he reaches samadhi. Right, the state of eternal bliss. And later in the translation, if you haven't read it, he talks about marriage. He talks about how in India, Hindu women take a vow to their husbands and they stay regardless of the relationship. Often it's even an arranged marriage, like they're not even given choice, but they stay because that's the cultural teaching, way of life. And for me, when I read the king's story the second time or third time or fourth time, I was like, oh, it's like marriage. And then I kept reading, I was like, oh yeah, he told us that. But I think that's how these teachings are. You know, you read them over and over again and they eventually start to reveal themselves, even if they've already been revealed before. Right, we start to connect the dots from our own experience. And it's when we connect the dots that the teaching really gets embodied. So I guess just a vote for continuing to study the masters, the teachings, not to try and finally absorb them, learn them from somebody else, but to have it remind us of what we know. And sometimes we don't know it yet when we first read it, and then later we get it and we're like, oh, that's what that's about. Or at least right now, that's what I need to learn. This staying in the posture is about more than the posture. The staying in our meditation practice for 20 minutes is about more than that. Insights? Comments? Well, I hope you enjoy this wonderful day. I think I'm going to put up our tree. My husband and I are going to put up our tree. Get festive. All right. Namaste.